Good morning, everyone. My name is Edwin Pena. I hope everybody doing fantastic in this beautiful Thursday morning. My presentation today will be about Irving Singer from one of his books, The Nature of Love. Just to talk a little bit about Irving Singer, he was a professor of philosophy for about 55 years at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and he was also the author of a already classic three-volume story, The Nature of Love. He started the beginning. He started talking about the concept of love in the West. He's saying that there were historians who say that love came into existence only after the Western civilization achieved a particular stage of development in the early Middle Age. Um, he mentioned that Eastern thinking about relation between men and women contain little of the West, tend to either purify sex through love or to make erotic passion into an ideal of its own. Um, Mr. Singer suggested that that it is reasonable to assume that people in other land in earlier time were not so different from ourselves as to have lived without sexual love until a handful of poets invented it or created it. That's kind of interesting, right? Then Mr. Singer went on to say that he suggested that the Western thinking about sexual love might be categorized in two basic approaches. On one hand, we have the idealistic tradition, which Plato codified for the first time. I'm assuming during the symposium. On the other hand, we have the realistic tradition that from the very beginning has rejected the pretension of idealism as unverifiable. According to Singer, in the history of thinking about love, the idealistic tradition has always been dominant in the sense that it theory were the most interesting and most fascinating for later speculation. Um, for idealistic, the concept of love became attached to religion and metaphysical doctrine. On the other hand, we have the realistic tradition, which usually turn to the latest science in the hope of finding, obtaining accurate insight into the nature, including human nature. But nevertheless, there was one point in which realistic and idealistic account or love tend to agree. They usually begin with the loneliness of a man. And I remember that Singer brought the point of Tristan, who was orphan, and Iso, who she was cut off from her family. So basically, they trying to make an example like all lonely people tend to find love, I guess, easily or quicker. And okay, but according to the realistic, people come together for the sake of individual benefit. Men and women live with one another as a convenience way of satisfying their need. And, and that resonate with me. I mean, I tend to agree with this point that he making over here, because it's clear to see that men and women sometimes come together for individual benefit. I can give you an example. When you meet somebody, the first thing they ask is, what do you do for a living? What do you live? In reality, this is not. it should be that important, because if you like me for who I am, well, who cares what I have or what I do for a living? But in reality, the realistic people, the realistic think that people usually get together with somebody else for to satisfy their needs, for convenience way of satisfying their need. So um, it's sad, but I think they are completely right about this. Here, Mr. Singer introduced another very interesting point, the concept of merging. He's saying it is merging through love that the idealistic tradition often seek to glorify, but he was not too sure about that. He said, let's assume that the concept of merging make any sense. If it make any sense, it gotta be by magic. And then he go on to say that it is magic that violate the empirical law of nature. And and as if we remember, the technique of magic are very familiar to anyone who study the Western, the concept of love in the Western world. Remember the love filler, the Tristan and Iso drank. That magic did not last too long. 3 years later, basically that magic disappears. We remember after the reading. Also, if we remember the symposium, the idea of love as merging through magic received one of the earlier expression in the speech of Plato gave Aristophanes in the symposium, after explaining how the present day men and women are only half of the totality of the original word. But Socrates insists that the object of love, it is not a specific instance of beauty, certainly not this or that beautiful body, but rather the absolute beauty, right? So in reality, the idealistic tradition just seek to ultimately one through the magical merging with another person. But I don't personally think that didn't made any sense, because as we saw what happened to Tristan and Iso, that didn't last too long, right? So love cannot be a magic. It's gotta be, it gotta be something else, not magic. Now, Mr. Singer introduced two components which he claimed are related to love. He start with the idea that love is a way of evaluating something, and he's saying that it's a positive response to us toward the object or love, which is to say, someone or something that is love. So those two components are that he's referring are appraisal and bestow. And just to give you a little bit background, what is appraisal? Appraisal is a terminology that is frequently used in the real estate business. Whether you are buying a property or selling a property, normally you will contract an appraiser. An appraiser is someone who is qualified to come to your property and basically evaluate, give you a value, to come up with an idea with a reasonable value of that property, right? So that's an appraiser. And it's quite interesting that Mr. Singer is kind of relating appraisal to love, but he went deep into this idea that in love between human being is the similar thing happen, that we that people might be appraised. And he also claimed that we always setting prices on all the human being and ourselves. Quite interesting to the way he see that he relate appraisal to love, right? So we can say that appraisal is involve our evaluation of an object or a person or an idea, or the ability to that thing has the ability to satisfy our wants, our desire, our need, right? So in thinking about loving another person, we probably search for and find the value that that person has, right? Whether that person can satisfy our need, our desire, and our, because I do believe that we always setting prices on people. I'm assuming that we meet somebody and basically probably we are praising that person in a sense. So now he moving to the next component, which is bestow. Bestow is almost identical to an appraisal. It's almost the same thing as an appraisal, but he go deep into more detail what a bestow is. Mr. Singer suggests that love create a new value, one that is not reducible to the individual, an objective value that something may also have, right? This further type of valuing he called bestow. So we can say that bestow involve giving an object an emotional important independent from its ability to satisfy our desire, our need, our wants. So we bestow value on an object when that object again could be a person, a thing, an idea, takes a special value in for us when we care about it above and beyond it appraise value. So bestow actually involve the creation of the new value, right? So I mean, here we can see the difference between appraisal and bestow. Bestow is that new value that perhaps we found in the house, regardless of the appraised price that the appraiser set on that house. So it's the same thing probably in love, that we find the value on that person that we love, regardless how other people see that person. So according to Mr. Singer, bestowing of value showing self in many different ways, and he kind of gave us a step of instruction how to show that value. He's saying by caring about the needs and the interests of the beloved, by wishing to benefit and protect her, by respecting her individuality, by giving her pleasure, by taking pleasure with her, by allowing her to become second nature, by developing common pursuit, by sharing idea and emotion with her, by feeling glad when she's present, by feeling sad when she's not. And I definitely do agree with his point of view. In reality, if we are in love with someone, we should display this characteristic that he points out over here. And at the end of the reading, something that caught my attention was that Mr. Singer point something out. He's saying that give may sometimes symbolize love, but they never prove its existence. So, and quite is true. Many times people think because we give our gift to someone that proves that we in love with that person, and that might not be the case. And I think that he was completely right on that point. With this, I conclude my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.